All right. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. My name is Segrin Nair, and I am the Director of Milpark Business School. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, evening. I know that it's a time to either kind of pack up, drive off to home from work. So if you stayed behind, thank you so much for just giving up a bit of your time to listen to us this evening. It is a recorded session, so for those individuals that have not been able to or are going to join us a bit later, they will still have the opportunity of listening to the session from the absolute start. It's my pleasure this evening to welcome a number of different individuals that will be participating in this information session. And again, it's an information session about the MBA program at Milpark Business School. So just making sure that everybody is at the right session this evening. So this evening, I'm joined by a number of different individuals. So first and foremost, let me give a warm welcome to our Golden Key Partnership members. Thank you so much for joining the session and for wanting to find out a bit more about the MBA program as well as Milpark Business School. So apart from the Golden Key, we are joined this evening by Nikita Singh, Dr. Nikita Singh. She is one of the faculty members, but the MBA convener, and she's going to be sharing a bit more about the program, and I'm going to be asking her a bunch of different questions. Additionally, we are joined by Evelyn Canigan, who is the program manager of the MBA program at Milpark Business School. Lots of experience, and she's also going to share with you her insights about the program and any questions that you might have. We're also joined by Ewald Pricher, who is a current MBA student as well as an alumnus. He's going to share his experiences of being on the program thus far with you. And then last but not least, an alumnus who's had a long-standing history with Milpark, Maruti Langa, or I should say Dr. Maruti Langa, because he also completed his doctorate with us recently. So you've got quite an exciting panel this evening to share a number of different perspectives, insights on the program, on the school with you this evening. These conversations are traditionally very active and alive, so we encourage you to jot down your questions in the chat. If you wish to ask a question, I'll certainly invite you to ask the question. I'll ask you to put on your camera, to unmute yourself, and then I'll give you the floor, and you can certainly ask your questions to either one of us. So again, welcome to this session this evening. So Milpark and Milpark Business School, as you all know, and I'm sure you've gone to the website, you've seen what we're all about. We are an online business school. We offer a number of different programs, one of them being the MBA. And individuals, of course, enter the MBA for very different reasons. To this end, for Milpark in particular, we have spent the last several months, redesigning. Well, the redesigning has been taking place over a couple of years, simply because of the conversations that have been happening. But we are very deliberate in terms of the new MBA that has been rolled out from the beginning of February 2025, and we are, of course, enrolling individuals for the second intake, which is going to happen in July of 2025. So there's lots of thinking that has gone into the redesigned MBA. But traditionally, of course, when it comes to the MBA program, there are very specific reasons as to why individuals enroll in the program itself. Milpark Business School MBA is known for, of course, its value proposition is around leadership, or creating the space for individuals to develop themselves as it relates to leadership, but just not for the sake of leadership. It is leadership for impact, and impact in very deliberate ways as it relates to leading with purpose, leading with intention, but also starting off with reflections of the individual. The other two pillars that accompany this, of course, is leading for impact as it relates to innovation and entrepreneurship. Very specifically for us in the South African context, it's meant to create spaces for individuals that could make deliberate changes in the economy as it relates to new products and services, but also to allow us to move away from the dismal growth rate that we experience year in and year out in the South African economy. I've said quite a bit about just basically situating the business school, the MBA program, but to tell us a bit more about, why individuals should enroll in the Milpark MBA. Let me turn it over now to Nikita. Nikita, the mic is yours. Why should individuals enroll in the Milpark MBA?
Yes, thanks so much, Stegren. I think you've touched on quite a few of the important points of why they should enroll in the MBA program. But to just touch on a few more, the MBA here at Milpark has the unique characteristic of being fully online, while also having particular touch points or synchronous sessions that the students can come together during to collaborate, to discuss their course content. So that is one of the amazing benefits of this MBA program at Milpark. Like with any MBA program, we try to encourage students who are maybe looking to advance in their career or develop particular business or management or strategic thinking skills. They would be the perfect fit for this kind of program, and also people who have a lot of work experience, either in the public or private domains. So that's the kind of person who would be encouraged by this type of MBA. I think a unique characteristic of our MBA program is that we focus a lot on leadership development. So we have a very purposeful approach to our students in the sense that we encourage them to reflect on themselves, to develop self-awareness, and to therefore begin to develop within themselves as leaders and then project this outwards. We also have the unique characteristic of the sense in that once we have registered our students, they also have the opportunity to meet each other in a face-to-face induction where they get to learn about each other, learn about their syndicate groups, contact one another, and also develop particular interpersonal skills through that touch point as well.
Great, fantastic. Thanks so much, Nikita. Just speaking about leadership, and one of the reasons for why individuals enroll in the MBA program, there's none other than, of course, Ewald Pricher. Ewald comes with an impressive background. He's got a strong financial background. He's got a number of years of experience. He's in a leadership position, but he's enrolled in our MBA. Ewald, you are 6 months into the new MBA, so to speak. Why did you enroll, Ewald, in terms of the MBA? What was your motivation like?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. If I can just give some background on myself, I work for a leading vehicle asset-based finance company. I've been in banking and financial services for over 30 years now, and I've been a Milpark student for the last 6 years. This is my 7th year, so I've done my undergrad and my postgrad with Milpark. And I think when you've done your postgrad, and then you look to the next big thing, it's what do I do next? So naturally you think, let's do the MBA. And I think when you think of doing an MBA, sometimes your motive is not always clear. You want to do the MBA, you want to get the accolade, and you think you're going to be doing all this, learn all this hard skills, because you're coming from an undergrad through a postgrad, and you ready to hit the accounting and the tax and all of this, and you want to go to the next level, obviously for advancing your career prospects, and for many other reasons. But when you start with the MBA, you come to realize that the MBA is very much focused on the individual. It's not so much about the hard skills. It's focused on you as an individual and to unlock your potential as a leader. and not so much on the accounting and the tax and so forth. Yeah. So I think initially, when I set out to do the MBA, it was, I need to go to the next level. I need to, improve on my hard skills, my accounting, my economics, because that, in my mind, that's what we were going to do. We're going to take it to the next level. And even when I had my initial interview with you, Sagren, even at that stage, I was still very much, how can I say, the preconceived idea I had about the MBA, I wasn't like entirely sure what this MBA is going to be about. I just knew I wanted to do an MBA. It's a prestigious thing to have. Many people want to do the MBA. And it's only once you start getting into the course content and you're working through the course material when you start realizing, what it's all about. And it's really about the self. It's about you as an individual, how to unlock your potential. And look, I'm only 6 months into the program. So if you ask me again in 2 years, 18 months from now, why did you do the MBA? I'd probably give you a better answer. But yeah, it's to progress and to advance your leadership skills and attributes.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Ewald. I mean, I think it's typically the prerogative of individuals, to develop the hardcore skills, the accounting, the finance, the quantitative skills on the MBA. I mean, that's part and parcel of the language, but there's so much more to the program, as you've said here. A large part of it is, we are creating the space, as we said, for individuals to develop their leadership potential. And it starts off with, knowing oneself. So therefore, the lots of reflection that you just spoke about, that you're going through, etc. We're confident that the language of business you'll certainly understand, which incorporates the quantitative, but it is the people, the softer, the harder part that requires much more attention. So from Ewald, who is a graduate who's been around, who's an alumnus at the school for a number of years, to Maruti. Maruti, of course, you are no stranger to Milpark as well. You are quite inspirational to a lot of individuals, just given your own academic journey at Milpark. But just, centering it or bringing it back to just the MBA, Maruti. From Ewald is going through the journey. He is, discovering more of himself, the skill sets, etc. For you, Maruti, who completed the MBA, who went on, of course, to complete a terminal degree as well, how did the skills gained on the MBA enable you to explore new and different opportunities? Again, you may have come into the MBA with very specific things in mind. Having gone through that journey, how did the skills gained on the MBA just propel you to explore the different opportunities? You're on mute, Maruti.
Thank you for the opportunity. I think first of all, I'm grateful that Milpark opened the doors for learning. And this is quality education. And I like what you said, that what MBA does is it enables you to have greater awareness, and this is what you get from the from the MBA. So the skills that that you are going to get, you may not. You might be thinking that I'm going to learn about management and leadership, but in the process of learning about management and leadership, for example, you're going to have to work with a team. You're going to have to, part of your assignment will be to visit companies, do some forecasting on the financial statement. And these are the critical skills that you need, in real world business in order to, to make meaningful impact in business. And other skills that you are going to learn, for example, is the entrepreneurship skills. You are going to learn how to, create your original business idea and think about, the startup. the business that I started, which is policing app, is exactly the proposal that we submitted to Milpark as part of a team to say, this is the opportunity that we see. And you know, when you see those opportunities, you realize within your own team members, and this is what is going to be important, to build networks and to create trust amongst your colleagues. Because you know, one of our colleagues, when we were engaging, was telling us, as we came up with an idea, was, you know, he was kidnapped and the only thing that he had was his phone. And if he could do something with the phone, it could be great. And therefore, you know, initiated an idea from, you know, from that particular experience. But of course, we are going to also learn a lot of technical skills. For example, that I've highlighted, looking at forecasting and analysis. You're going to learn how to do your market research, how to read, financial statement using the ratios and formulas to understand business financial wealth. And also crafting marketing strategies is going to be very important to understand. You know, how do you create value from marketing? Because a lot of marketing that is out there is just noise, you know. So the real question that you are going to have to ask when you look at the modules that are provided for MBA at Milpark, you know, they really, you know, forces you to engage meaningfully, because you're going to have to identify, for example, companies that you can look at and say, you know, how can we improve the marketing strategy for this, you know, company? And you are not just going to sit and think about it. You'll also be, you know, required to look at different philosophy, different tools, marketing tools that are available, your marketing plan. You're going to look at, you know, where is this business in terms of its financial wealth and how can it grow? You know, so those are some of the important lessons that one has learned from the MBA, that, you know, is enabled one to look at different opportunities. But also what MBA is going to do, or what it did to me, is to lay really a foundation to understand yourself, to understand what is reality. You're going to be challenged, you know, to understand what do you believe is the reality out there in terms of why are businesses failing the way they are. You know, you need to be like the program director was saying, you need to be purposeful, you need to be intentional and ask very, you know, radical, very good questions in business to say, why are we having so many, why is our economy not growing? Yet we have so many, we have so much wage bill that you can look at in terms of government spending. If you look at, you know, how much we spend as a country in terms of salaries, it's way big compared to the efficiencies that we get. I mean, as you drive on the roads, you get a lot of potholes, but there are people who get paid to do that. So as business from the MBA, those are some of the questions that you're going to start realizing and asking. Very difficult to say, you know, in terms of how you think differently and how we can change our own society, our own country. So this is some of the skills that for me I've gained from Milpark that enabled me to think differently in terms of, you know, exploring new opportunities, but also, you know, thinking about how best can we, you know, be uh, to act different in our society, to add value to our society, change conversations around. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Maruti. A number of things from what you've just basically said. So not only from the perspective of just business numeracy, marketing plans, how to read them, make sense of it. One of the things that you absolutely point out, which is critical, right, in today's world, just given the large language models that we have in terms of AI, critical thinking, the information that is given to us and what do we do, and how we should, as MBA students, act on that data, the data points, and the decisions, etc. Which is a really good segue, Nikita, for the second question. Again, you have an expectation, I mean, as a faculty members convener, for how students should show up, especially given, of course, the diversity of students in the program. I mean, we've got chartered accountants, we've got individuals with financial backgrounds, strong financial backgrounds, FMCG, mining, engineering, etc., etc. But to Maruti's point again, I mean, you've got teamwork, you've got group work, there's conflict that happens. Individuals need to negotiate these contested kind of positions that invariably they take. What do you expect or how do you expect your students then to show up on the program, Nikita?
Well, I always tell my students I'd like them to show up smiling and prepared and passionate to take on whatever challenge I throw their way as a lecturer or a facilitator. But we do also acknowledge that, a lot of these students on the MBA program are, fully working individuals. They're coming into these live sessions, they're a bit tired, their energy is low. And so we have a very mixed experienced team of faculty facilitators who are geared towards getting that energy up. Our live sessions purposely move away from lecture style sessions, and we focus more on facilitation, where the student becomes the center of the learning experience. So these are just some of the ways we try to get the energy up. We try to get the students involved, collaborating, conversing. And I think students have to show up with that mindset that we're not going to sit there and listen to a lecture. We're going to actively engage. We're going to hear the facilitator out. We're going to give our opinions. We're going to converse with our classmates, and we're going to allow teaching and learning to evolve in a communal way, not just where the lecturer is giving us knowledge, but where we are actively involved. So I always tell my MBA students, what you put in is what you're going to get out at the end of the day, whether it's in the live sessions or in terms of preparing for assessments, submitting on time, or the kind of effort you put into those assessments, or the various projects that we have throughout the 2 years. You really have to give it your all. You really have to show up. And if there's a point where, you're struggling and you need support, reach out to your program manager, reach out to your convener, even reach out to your fellow group mates, and there will be the support there to keep you moving along.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikita. Well said. I mean, we need for individuals to understand what they're getting into when it comes to the MBA program. It's a complicated, complex program, 16, 17 modules. Our program, as you said at the outset, it's geared to professional working adults. So there's always this juggling that is taking place between work, family, sometimes children, partnership responsibilities, etc., and then just the program. And we want individuals, as you say, to shout, to speak up, and to ask for assistance, etc., should that be required. Speaking of which, I'm going to now bring Evelyn into the conversation. Evelyn, I mean, one of the things that we are known for at Milpark is the personal touch, as we put it. There's strong engagement between students and you as a program manager, the students and the faculty members. And students also reach out to me. I mean, we're really accessible. But can you just walk us through the onboarding process? I mean, I'm sure this is on everybody's mind, okay? So for the new MBA, what support can they expect from day one?
Thanks, Segren. Good evening, everyone. So Segren, the support that we provide is from the time the student contacts us from the application phase. Our consultants assist the students with their application. It may be in the form of what documents are required to upload, guidance on the essay that is required to be submitted. And then once the application is received, I schedule the entrance assessment. And once the assessment is completed, an interview will be scheduled. Now, the interview is a way to get to know the students. We discuss their work background, their expectations. We discuss the program and give students an opportunity to ask questions. We also, as Nikita mentioned, we kick off with an in-person induction in Cape Town at our head office. And the objective of this in-person induction is to provide students with a cohort experience where students get to meet and engage with their fellow classmates and faculty. We review, as part of the agenda, the learning environment. We cover areas such as the program expectations, group dynamics, development opportunities from the entrance assessment and the output of that on an overall basis. And the cohort experience is from the time the program kicks off. You get to know your classmates when you're online and engaging, you know who you're talking to on the forums and engaging with. Furthermore, once the program starts, students can access the support department for admin queries. They have access, as you mentioned, to either yourself, Nikita as the MBA convener, or myself. Students also have access to the student portal where they can schedule meetings with their facilitator directly. They have access to their schedules, and we also have coaches assigned, so the student has access to. So there's quite a broad spectrum of support that we offer. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Evelyn, for speaking to this in depth. But from an experience point of view, I mean, we speak about of course, us being an online institution. And this is what students, potential students gear up towards in terms of being an online institution. And for the very first time this year, we had a face-to-face induction. And to tell us a bit more about this, Ewald, I mean, what did the induction mean for you? And, when we did tell you, well, Ewald, it's going to be a face-to-face one, if there's any piece of advice you can provide to students, given your experience that you had with the induction, what would that be? So what was the induction like for you, Ewald, and what's a piece of advice that you would give to individuals that are thinking about, not thinking, but will join the program? You're on mute, Ewald.
Yeah, Sagan. So obviously I like the fact that, I mean, you guys arranged everything. We literally didn't have to lift a finger, so it doesn't matter where you were traveling from, whether it be Joburg or Bloem, you guys sorted out the travel arrangements, the accommodation, everything. So you just literally hop on a plane and there you go. So it was very well organized. Obviously we didn't know what to expect, but when we got there, meeting all of your peers, that was great, because when you're there, you realize, because look, the MBA it's hard work, right? And you're going to have late nights and you're going to need support, right? So when you're there and you among your, this cohort, and you've got 50 people there, then you start realizing that you're not alone in this. And I guess that gives you some comfort that you one of 50 people that's going to be working with you those late nights into the morning hours sometimes, getting up early in the morning and starting your study. So I think that was great, to meet everybody face to face, learn from everybody's backgrounds, different people from different walks of life. Like you said earlier, Segren, we got a lot of chartered accountants, and people from mining and so forth. But the nice thing is you're forging relationships. I mean, I've got a lot of more, friends now and connections on LinkedIn, and you talking to the people, and it makes it easier as well when you go into your group assignments, because you've met this person, you've broken the ice, you're more at ease with these people. They know where you're coming from, it's when you meet someone for the first time, you always you suss each other out, so now that's been done. So you've spoken to everybody. So when you start eating the assignments, there's a sense of familiarity, and I think that helps a lot. Also, you guys have really gone out of your way to make it how can I say, a memorable experience. It's not all work play. It's not all work. There was play as well. We had motivational speakers. So it really energizes you. When you get out of that induction, you're ready to hit the ground running. Yeah, so that was my experience. Definitely worthwhile. Amazing initiative. You guys should continue doing that. And like I said, it's a good icebreaker, and it takes a lot of the tension away. So you know what to expect. And your peers, you've met them, and you're all in this together, so you just got to pull together.
Yeah. No, thanks, Ewald. Thank you very much. So, from the power of connections, the ability to see someone face to face, building up the social capital, to being able to then have an experience with the cohort in terms of just the induction and much more. And, I oftentimes say that it's incredibly important to just build off this question or this issue of onboarding. You guys as students, in terms of just the program, i.e. the fuel that you put in your tanks to carry you through this journey, this 2-year journey. You spoke about the challenges. You spoke about this is a challenging degree, and it ought to be. This is a postgraduate, this is a master's program, and we certainly want to create the space and create opportunities for trained individuals, well-trained leaders that are going to make meaningful impacts. Maruti, now to bring it to you, Maruti, I mean, from induction to having a full-blown experience, you spoke earlier on, of course, about business numeracy, the language of business, negotiating positions with team members. But what did this MBA mean for you, Maruti, in terms of how it influenced your way of thinking? Also including the way you now make decisions versus, from the time before when you enter the program. And then, the more important one, which is leading of teams and how one should show up in that leadership kind of position post MBA. So if you can just speak to that, Maruti, I would be grateful.
Yeah, so the first thing, the perspective is power. The way you think critically, it's important. So at the moment, one communicate with a rational. You have structured argument about the things that you believe in, and you suddenly, the whole world makes sense to you. When you go into the shop, you understand why they are putting, suddenly bread next to the milk. But also you understand, appreciate the importance of consistency, and I mean, most importantly, the people matters, and this is what you carry all along in your life. Your colleagues matters, your family matters, everybody matters, and you understand it's important that you make input that is meaningful to everybody, and just to assist other people to also be at more or less the same level as you are. But what is important for me, you know uh, the team matters, the people matters. You would lead teams. If your team doesn't perform, it affects you as their leader. So that's very important for me, and that's how this MBA has influenced me. You can't walk away when your team is not performing well. You're going to fail that assignment. Similar in business, you are not going to get the result that you want. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maruti. It underlines, what we believe in, of course, at Milpark, and that is the human, being human first, with the human connections, the human interactions, the importance of it. Ewald spoke about the relationships that are formed at induction, the social capital that is built all the way through this program, and who one can rely upon. Nikita, I'm going to now turn to you. I mean, we speak about, again, this online environment. Of course, we are asynchronous led first, but there are these magical moments of synchronicity or synchronous sessions. Yeah, it's, as they would say, light, action, etc. Cameras on, conversations happening, etc. Can you tell us a bit more about, what can students expect? I mean, in a typical synchronous classroom session.
Yeah, so typically each module will have about 6 live sessions. And these live sessions are generally from 6 to 8:30 each evening. Not each evening, at random, at 2-week periods between modules. In these live sessions, as I said before, it's really about facilitation. So you go in there and, you engage, you collaborate with the lecturer as the facilitator, and you collaborate and engage with your other classmates as well. But I'm glad that you mentioned cameras on, Sagren, because that is a unique feature of the MBA program here at Milpark as well, is that we require our students to have their videos on during these live sessions, just to sort of encourage this collaboration and facilitation style that moves away from the conventional lecturing style. So students have to have their videos on, they have to be engaged, they have to be talking, they have to be conversing, and that really increases the energy and knowledge generation in those live sessions as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you, Nikita. And again, bringing it back to this is a master's program. We've got highly experienced individuals Our sessions are dynamic, they are interactive. We want to see individuals participate. So it's about not passively engaging, but rather actively engaging. We want to hear from folks. Let me now turn to Evelyn. Evelyn, again, bringing back the reality of the demographic that is sitting in the session, professional working adults. Stuff happens to us, when it comes to work. We've got the workload of the program. This is a 2-year program that individuals enroll in. And it begs the question, I mean, what systems, what help is in place just to help students just manage their program workload?
So thanks, Segrin. So the timetable that we schedule is scheduled considering that we have part-time students. The timetable is broken into weeks and into smaller chunks to separate the sessions, the classes, and to provide a workable schedule. Furthermore, students will have access to scheduled time with their facilitator or their lecturers if they need any extra assistance, if they need clarity on any of the content. They'll also have access to their coaches and are able to schedule meetings directly from the student portal to assist in this area. We also offer October Help, where students have access to resources to support their holistic mental health and to also support well-being. Furthermore, myself as a program manager, Nikita, the facilitators, and the business school team is available to assist students through the program. And we also reach out to students. For example, if I notice a student is not attending a class, I will reach out to ask if everything is okay. So we provide an overall support system.
Thanks. Thank you, Evelyn. Again, lots of support for individuals, but just bringing it back to this point that you made, the deliberateness in terms of intentionality when it came to the design of the program that took into consideration from a timetabling perspective that individuals are working. So the pace is designed accordingly so to enable just the management of the workload. So thank you very much for that. I'm going to come back now to Ewald. Ewald, you spoke a bit about the personal transformative journey. You shared a bit about what this has meant for you. I wonder whether you could just spend a bit more time, Ewald, and tell us a bit more about how it's been for you. This is the stuff that many of us, of course, don't want to get into because we think that, hey, we are okay, we're fine. It's not my problem, it's everybody else's kind of problem. And we saying at Milpark, hey, we all have got baggage and we've got to take responsibility for it. Yes, you will learn the hardcore stuff in terms of what we spoke about. But what's it been like for you, Ewald, in terms of just the transformative journey that you have begun and taken on the program thus far?
Yeah, thank you, Sagrin. Look, it's still early days, but but I can say, with all the coursework and everything that we're covering, there's a lot of self-reflection, right? So everything, and once again, you've got to immerse yourself in the material. I think that's important. You've got to immerse yourself. You've got to go through the motions. You've got to do the reflections. And then the more you do that, you start connecting the dots and you come to the realization that, look, if as a leader, and maybe a leader of a department, or if you've got any aspiration to become a leader of a department, a company maybe in future, at the end of the day, you need to know how to work with people. You can have the best hardcore skill sets in the business, but if you can't bring people together, then you're not, and you can't keep people in your business, and you can't. There's a nice quote that resonates with me. It says, build the people and your people will build the business, because without people, your business is just a shell, right? And then, leading up to this meeting this afternoon, I was thinking, if you don't work on yourself and your own attributes, your own leadership attributes, how are you going to help other people? How are you going to build people and make them better versions of themselves, and coach them and mentor them. If you're not capable to do that, so it means, charity starts at home. You got to work on yourself, build yourself up to a certain level, so that, and enable yourself to enable your team and give them the tools that they need, so that they can then in turn build your business for you. So the more you're working through this material, you realize how important it is actually, to have, these leadership skills, when we talk about ethics and how to lead people, and the servant leadership, how to be a servant, the attributes of a servant leader, and how do you unlock the potential out of your employees, to get the best out of them? How do you bring them together in teams? How do you collaborate? When you start reading all these things, then you start realizing how important it is, in business, because once again, you could have all the, the best skills in the business, but if you can't bring those teams together, and you can't unlock that potential, then your business is going to be mediocre. You're not going to go to the next level. So that's been my eye opener, is to say, you need to, as a prospective leader for the future, you need to work on yourself. You need to unlock your own potential, and that will allow you to, be a coach and mentor to others, and hopefully unlock their potential. And when you can successfully work with teams, it's going to be all the better for your business. The business will reap the rewards.
Yeah, thanks.
I hope that answers your question, Sagan.
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant, Ewald. Thank you for capturing it in that particular way. Talking about, of course, it starts with me, with myself, taking the time, investing in myself, and then, of course, investing in other individuals, because by investing in other individuals, you're investing in the business, because those individuals will help grow the business as well. So it speaks to the old adage, the greatest asset in any particular organization are the people. And if one pays attention to that there, then the other things, will obviously fall into play, notwithstanding not losing sight of course, why we exist and the reason for our existence as well in the context of the business. So thank you, Ewald. From, of course, just the personal transformative journeys, and paying attention to that there, I'm going to bring in Maruti. Maruti, I know that you're having some challenges with your video, so by all means, okay to keep it off. But my next question, Maruti, is to you. I mean, again, to the audience that is sitting with this particular question, everybody invariably gets to this particular point. How have you guys been able to, as professional working adults, take on a program as demanding as this, when you are dealing with time pressures? You've got, of course, difficult conversations that you're having with group members, and sometimes you kind of throw the towel up in the air and you're like, what did I do? Why did I ever enroll in a program like this? Because this is really difficult. And nobody spoke to me about the difficultness of it all. And of course, there's this overwhelming sense of everything just feels too much. So Maruti, what advice would you give to the individuals that are sitting in this audience about don't panic, believe in the program itself, and you will absolutely get through it? So what advice would you give to the future students, Maruti?
I think what is important, thank you for the question, start on day one, know your deadline, do not procrastinate, and when you have time to study, make an appointment, treat it as a meeting, prepare to study, your room must be tidy, everything must be in order, so that when you get there, you have full attention, you cleared everything, the kids are away, it's time to start. So you make an appointment. If you're going to meet with your team, you prepare for that. You just don't go unprepared, And also you need to know your limitations, don't overcommit, understand what you can, what you can't do. But also what is important, what Evelyn was saying, make use of the resources that Milpark provides. Don't bend alone, reach out for help. And also when other students are reaching out to you, be kind, build the relationships. But most importantly, as you work with a teamwork, because you're going to work a lot with teams, build relationship, take initiatives, lead, show your members that you are into this, because if you are going to take a step back and say other members are not participating, the deadline will come closer and you are not going to submit. So take initiatives, be dependable, and rely on your colleagues as well. Build that confidence with them. So I think that for me is important. And also generally take care of your health. A lot of time, because you may not have time to cook, you may eat junk. Try to eat healthy, take care of your mental health, and exercise a bit when you get time. And yeah, of course, stick to your deadlines. And yeah, and you need to study a lot, read a lot of materials. Is going to help you to understand many concepts, because some of the concepts may come across as complex, but if you read and read more before you meet with your teammates, before you do that assignment, you're going to have a better understanding of what is required. Thank you.
Great, brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Maruti. From being planned, organized, a key requisite for success on the program, to, of course, not forgetting one's health, and being deliberate about managing stress in healthy ways, also with exercise. And importantly, as you say, Maruti, because of the pressure, just remember to be kind, not only to yourself, but to your fellow classmates, to your fellow group members, because you never know when you would need to rely upon them. Evelyn, thanks for just answering the question I see in the chat. That's great. I encourage, of course, our audience this evening to please ask your questions. Don't leave the session with unanswered questions. There is no silly question. You've got really, a great panel this evening, from the convener of the program to the program manager to a current student, Eva Prigger, to, of course, Maruti Langa, who was an alumnus of the school and completed the program. Nikita, I'm going to come back to you. We've spoken a lot about, of course, the complexity of the program, not forgetting the unique value proposition of the Milpark MBA, which is around leadership. We're talking about a curriculum that has been completely revamped and continues to be revamped. I guess, our audience sometimes sits with this question. How do we, ensure that we enhance our curriculum continuously so? How do we show that, we continue to be relevant in this fast changing landscape that we have? Currently, as we all know, the business landscape is inundated with the tariff wars and the tariff conversations, etc. So it requires individuals to show up in very specific ways. But bringing it back to just leadership, Nikita, how do we kind of integrate leadership into leadership development into the curriculum, and the kind of leader that we are trying to help students become from the Milpark point of view? What kind of leader is that, Nikita?
So to speak to the first aspect in terms of, how is leadership incorporated into the MBA program, we have a module called LDEV, and that basically is that's an abbreviation for leadership development. This is core to the MBA program in the sense that it runs from year one, block one, right to the end of the MBA program. So you're engaging with leadership development very, very purposefully throughout the 2 years of the MBA program. The leadership development, the nice thing about this module is that it moves away from focusing on sort of frameworks and styles of leadership. And it's a very purposeful module in the sense that, as Eval said, there's a lot of reflection activities. So the aim here is to try to encourage students to begin to question themselves, to engage in a journey of self-awareness and self-questioning. And so that the aim is to develop leadership from within yourself. We have very purposeful assessments and very purposeful activities throughout the 2 years to encourage not only personal leadership, but interpersonal leadership as well. Because as Eval said, it's so important to be able to, liaise with different types of people, to communicate in a peaceful manner, to collaborate, to get your message across, and to ensure that the other person also understands what you are saying. So that's the interpersonal leadership stuff. And then obviously a big focus on professional leadership, because we're dealing with professionals who are in professional contexts, and they need to know how to sort of lead themselves in this context as well. So besides that leadership development module, which runs throughout the 2 years of the MBA program, another exciting element of the revised MBA program here at Milpark is the inclusion of a coaching aspect that sits within the leadership development module. And what this essentially entails is the pairing of our students with coaches to aid them in this leadership development journey. So again, very purposeful, very active, very engaged process. It's not just that you're reading material and, doing assessments, you're actively engaging in your own leadership and self-development. And then once that happens, that learning, that development can be applied in your work context, in your personal life, as well as your interpersonal relationships. So again, it's a very, very unique part of the MBA program here at Milpark Business School. You're going to constantly engage around leadership development throughout the 2 years, and it's a very, very purposeful engagement at that. But in addition to that, we also have an elective, which is called Leader as Coach. So if there are particular students who want to enhance their leadership abilities within their professional context, who are currently in roles where they have to coach other team members, or they are aiming to that kind of role, then they should select that elective known as Leader as Coach to develop those abilities even further and beyond the leadership development module that is currently on the MBA program for those 2 years. So I'm not sure if I touched on all the things you required there, but yeah, you're going to be engaging with a lot of leadership development throughout the MBA program. And I think it's also because, the rationale here is that in order to be a good leader, you have to lead yourself first. You have to know yourself well in order to be able to project that into the external world and be able to lead others in a purposeful, positive manner.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nikita. So again, bringing home the point about just the value proposition and why individuals, of course, come to Milpark for the MBA, in terms of just leadership. But it also requires, leadership also requires, apart from knowing oneself better, it requires one to be able to engage and interact with individuals that are very diverse from oneself. And to this end, Evelyn, one of the modules, of course, that we offer on the MBA program, which has been very exciting and engaging, interesting, as an opportunity to create spaces for our students to get to know other cultures better, other markets better. It's the Business in Emerging Markets module on the MBA. Do you want to just speak a bit about what this experience has been? Where our students have gone in the past and what it means generally for our students, because I know that there's a great deal of excitement when it comes to the international travel module.
Segun, yes, the international travel module is called the Business in Emerging Markets module, and students previously got to travel to the BRICS countries. So we know the BRICS countries have expanded, so students will have the opportunity to travel to those countries. And we've also expanded now the study tour to the African countries. So details for that will come out maybe I think by the end of June to July. For the elective Business in Emerging Markets, students get to travel to the countries. The experience has always been phenomenal. We've received positive feedback from students to learn how to do business with different cultures, to get immersed into that culture, into the business environment, to visit companies, to visit other institutions, educational institutions, and then also to visit companies that they are interested in, they are working with in the industries. So it's been a phenomenal module so far. We've received excellent feedback. We've traveled to Brazil, we've traveled to India, we've traveled to China. We were going to travel to Russia, but the pandemic happened, so that didn't occur. But yeah, the students have traveled and had a really good experience emerging in different cultures and learning how to do business in those environments.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Evelyn. Folks, we've got 3 minutes to go before the session ends. I want to just conclude it with a couple of remarks. But again, please keep your questions coming in the chat. If you don't get an opportunity to ask us questions here, you will certainly get an opportunity to engage with us beyond this particular session. But just to sum up, I mean, we're talking about a program that not only focuses on oneself, it empowers you from a business numeracy literacy point of view. Our program is geared towards professional working adults. It's that flexibility to get online. It's asynchronous led to understand, yes, the language of business and the numeracy of business as well. But more importantly, it's around development of oneself. It starts off with flying into Cape Town for an induction over 3 days. You immerse yourself, getting to know more about your class, your group. You get to share, as Ewald had explained, relating to the induction experience. We just spoke about the Business and Emerging Markets elective. It's one of 2 options that you can take on the program. It's either a leader as coach or the Business and Emerging Markets. While the focus of that particular module was on the BRICS countries, our focus now is, of course, going to be on Africa. I've just recently returned from Cairo, Egypt, and we have recently signed up a partnership agreement with a university in Egypt. And we are hopeful that we can take you to Cairo for that particular part of the program. It's an incredibly exciting country to be in that particular city. We know that you have thought long and hard about the MBA, and we now invite you, of course, to apply to the program. The application details are on our website. It is fairly straightforward and clear. We haven't also, touched on the credit facility, but if you were wondering about, finance and financing your journey on the program, there is that there as well that is open to you as an applicant. So again, we are here to take your questions. Feel free to please reach out to us. But thank you so much for just giving up your time. To Nikita, thank you so much as the program convener, as a faculty member. Thank you for just sharing what you expect from your students. Ewald Pricher, we wish you again continued success on your journey. But thanks so much, Ewald, for just taking the time and sharing your experiences this evening. We greatly appreciate that. Evelyn, thank you. Thank you for just, again, sharing the academic administrative part to the program. And to our colleagues that have made this happen tonight from the marketing department and elsewhere. Thank you so much for just being a part of this. With that being said, we wish you a pleasant evening. So thanks so much, everyone.